Hello, I'm Joanne Manita, 203 South Howard. I'm here to talk about the mobility plan and the plan to build a motor bridge over Paradise Creek at 3rd Street. But first, since there's a wonderful big audience here, and since we're honoring the farmers market, I wanted to remind people that this Saturday, August 6th, is a Great Moscow Food Drive. We will be collecting food at the farmers market, Safeway, and Rose Hours for the Moscow Food Bank and the Trinity Pantry, and cash for the Children's Backpack Food Program. So if you have plenty to eat, please share some and bring some food. Okay, but that isn't what I'm here to talk about, as I said. And we really appreciate the opportunity to use this period to say something about the bridge, except that having just 3-minute sound bites is not really a proper way to discuss this very complex matter. So we'd like to again request that this subject be put on the agenda August 18th, before the decision is made about the grant. I wanted to just say 2 things. When we worked on the comprehensive plan in 2000, which was approved in 2009, we had a development process that included 9 focus group interviews, 27 neighborhood meetings, 2 community meetings, 4 open house meetings, and 15 meetings of the 23-member steering committee. And they came up with this statement. 3rd Street, east of Hayes, has been a candidate for arterial or collector status for some years. Following an intense examination of the viability of such a decision, the City Council, Planning and Zoning Commission, and Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee found that any advantage that might be gained in east-west traffic movement was outweighed by the damage that such a designation could have on the livability of the city's principal historic residential district and major civic sites like East City Park, adjacent elementary school, the Moscow High School, and the 1912 Center, which is the location of the city's senior citizen center, among other activities. Now, unfortunately, this was part of the plan that all this work went into, but in his great wisdom, Walter Steed moved at the end of the public hearing that it be removed from the plan, and this was approved by the council. Now, this was the only paragraph in the 7 chapters of a plan this big that was removed, but the statement still stands as the opinion of the people that took part in these neighborhood discussions. And I want to say, I have another minute? I want to say that... You
actually are over your time, but I'll give you about another 30 seconds, Joanne, if you want. Thank you.
I just want to say that it isn't just the people who live right near the creek who are objecting to the idea of a motor bridge with 2,300 cars going back and forth from Mountain View up to Hayes. It's the people all along 3rd, a lot of whom I'm finding didn't know anything about it, and all the people in the Fort Russell neighborhood, and there are letters being circulated about it. So it's a community, and not only that, people who don't even live over here are worrying about the effect it's going to have on our city. Letters are being circulated about this subject, which you will be receiving soon. Thank you for letting me have the extra seconds.
Thank you, Joanne. Joanne brought up about the 3rd Street, and we've heard a number of different comments. And folks, this has been the first thing that I saw started in 1994, just going back to the research. So this isn't anything new. And yes, it's been discussed. And yes, there's a transportation plan. There's a multimodal plan that's been in front of various councils for 22 years that I know of. Now, what I would, being Joanne brought that up, I wouldn't mind hearing from others, but I've heard the same folks that have already spoke about this. If there's somebody different that would like to speak about that, I'd sure like to see them come up and address us. Give us your name and address, please. Go ahead, Mark, walk on over there, because it takes a while to weave.
My name is Kirsten LaPelea, and my address is currently 520 3rd Street. I've lived in Moscow since 20 years now, and I love this town. I've lived in different areas of this town. And I heard of that recently, so I haven't formulated all my arguments, but I have been around long enough to talk with many people who are interested in how this town can grow sustainable in a way that we protect recreational areas, that we protect the downtown, which is increasingly becoming, a little bit less trafficked. The main street now is becoming more pedestrian on Saturdays with the farmers market. And it seems to me really clear that the downtown area does include that first section of 3rd Street. So any kind of plan that the city has for moving forward with traffic, I would highly encourage a traffic slowness, slowification for Main Street and 3rd Street to keep increasing this value of that many people get, that brings many people into Moscow to enjoy the local restaurants where there's outside seating. Anyway, I think the bridge will be counter that sustainability of having a healthy downtown Moscow. But regardless, I think that needs to be looked at, that we need to keep slowing the downtown down in terms of traffic to make it safe. The one thing that I observe almost every weekday since a year or two, increasingly, is that there's huge traffic jam from traffic that comes from 3rd Street into flowing through across Main Street onto the main traffic pipelines. So currently there's already too much traffic coming from 3rd Street down from the area that will then increase traffic. And so I'm highly concerned about that. I don't see a solution for that because we're not, and there's already like don't turn right, there's increased signage that blocks the traffic flow into and from 3rd in different ways. So I don't really understand why somebody would consider opening that up as an increased traffic pipeline when we already have traffic jam every day coming down that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Kirsten.
Mark Tribalpiece, 411 Harvest Drive. Obviously, I'm here for a different reason, but this bridge would affect myself and my family. Currently, there are 2 arteries to get from downtown Moscow to where I live, and one of them is under road construction. And seeing what's going on with that road construction, I can see that there will be much more of a bottleneck in front of the junior high in the future, which I'm absolutely okay with because the children's safety should be first and foremost. I do think that opening 3rd Street would be a great idea for this city because currently 6th Street and I believe it's C are the only options for me to move from one end of Moscow to the other without going out past Rodeo Drive or down White Avenue. I understand people don't want increased traffic in their neighborhood. Recently, Itani was just punched through near my house, and I had increased traffic, and honestly, it doesn't make a big difference in our neighborhood. And I just think that I think it's a good idea for the city to do this and would like the city to consider putting that bridge in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Hi, my name's Laurel Eschen, and I, as of May 27th, just bought my first home on 3rd Street. I'm a Moscow native. I born in Gritman, went to Lena Whitmore Elementary, went to the junior high and Moscow High School. Have always really loved the East City Park area, district. That's why I chose to buy my first home there. And I'm extremely concerned about opening up the road between 3rd and Mountain View. Prior to moving into my new home, I lived down on Cleveland Street in some apartments over there. That's on the corner of where Lena Whitmore playing fields are, Cleveland and 3rd. There are tons of children that live in those apartment complexes over there, for one. There's also the elementary school, for two. I know Joanne mentioned the senior center, East City Park, all of these things. So I just think there's too much beauty in the neighborhood. There are too many young people It's a level road. People like to ride their bikes up it. It's accessible to people with mobility issues, young people. I just think it's a really bad idea. And I also would not personally enjoy the extra noise. So.
Terrence Lowell. I live on Polk Street. In terms of the bridge, if you go through the daily news, I read it regularly, and look at the police reports, you'll find that every year there's a very minor accident near East City Park between a car and a kid on a bike. If you put the bridge through and increase traffic, there's going to be a lot more of those accidents. The cars are going to be moving faster. There's basically no question that this will lead to serious incidences. In terms of city development, putting arterials through the middle of a neighborhood seems like a strange way of doing things. In the short term, this may be a good decision, but as Moscow continues to grow, we're going to want to put roads that go around the city. That's how all major cities do it, not traffic through the middle. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary, I don't know, one thing I would like to have somebody investigate is, he said, this guy talked about a bunch of different bike accidents at 3rd and East City Park, which I know of none, so I'd like to see the stats on that.
Statistics on that.
So, yep, I'd like to have those statistics so this council and I can find out on that. Any other comments before we move on, folks? Thank you. At this time, I will close that, but I will say one thing, and everybody in this room kind of understands this, I'm sure. Our city streets that were set out 100 and some years ago really weren't designed the way probably a city should have been for the size we are. I mean, it would have worked great for a town of 500 to 1,500. And so, you know, these things, as we grow as a town, streets are going to get pushed through, things are going to happen, and, you know, everybody shares in part of that responsibility, folks, every single one of us. And our town is going to continue to grow. We need to grow so we can prosper, and we've seen all these young folks up here in this audience and stuff, so everybody gets a chance. So the point that I'm trying to make on this is we don't have certain neighborhoods that are more important necessarily than other neighborhoods. Yes, we've got the Russell District, which is historic. We all know that, and we're all very, very proud. That's a very fine culture and part of our town. But we also have lots of other neighborhoods that we care deeply about as well. And so we're going to move forward. I don't know. We'll see how things go on this. It's premature to have another discussion because we've talked about these things for 22 years that I know of. I went through and we did a history of this thing. It's been on the last 2 comprehensive plan rewrites, one in 1999 and one in 2009, and a number of different commission reports through Transportation Commission, as well as the multimodal commissions that have brought things forward to